And we are live.
Catholic Answers Live, SuperShow. I'm doing my imitation of myself. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Edgar
Lujano.
assistant to the host.
Assistant host.
And the great, the powerful, Emily Dinany. Hi, Emily. Is Emily on the screen?
Hi.
Hey. Thanks for doing this with us. I feel like Emily is a superstar.
She is.
I feel like she's top notch.
She's everywhere.
She brings our game up. We do better when Emily's here.
I would agree.
You don't feel that way? You don't feel you're a superstar, Emily? You sound like...
No, I don't. You're the superstar here, Cy.
That's funny. That's good.
He
That's
doesn't get recognized at airports just
all
yet.
right, let's talk about what's going on in the world. Edgar wanted to talk about this one.
Yes.
And I like it. I think it's an interesting story. Europe's parliament. This happened. It's not a brand new story, but it's one that just came to our attention. Europe's parliament recognized Christianophobia. Christianophobia. How do you even say it?
I have no idea.
Christianophobia. I'm going to say Christianophobia. The European Parliament has I'm reading from Christian Today. The European Parliament has recognized the real threat of Christianophobia against Christian believers all over the world. In a resolution, they said, Christianity remains the most persecuted religion in the world today, with more than 380 million people affected. There is no European coordinator responsible for combating Christianophobia, even though a coordinator has been appointed to combat Islamophobia. So there we go. Thoughts? Well, you brought us this story. Why?
Yeah.
Why did you bring us this story?
Because you constantly hear of all these phobias, which I know you want to make a comment about what phobia
The same
actually means.
comment that your wife made.
That my wife
I'm going
made.
to steal your wife's idea.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead and make that point.
It's not a phobia. They're not afraid of Christians.
Yeah. They just
Go ahead.
hate them.
Yeah, I've never thought that the homophobia was the first one.
Yes.
That started back in about 1990, I think.
And then Islamophobia.
And I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. People aren't scared of homosexuals. That's not what it is. But it's... Go ahead. What are you going to say, Emily?
I am scared of Muslims.
Okay, so you have Islamophobia or Muslimophobia? Or
Islamophobia? You're
Yeah.
legitimately scared of them, so when you see a Muslim, you're actually scared?
Yeah, I think that one applies. I don't think homophobia, I don't think there's a case to be made to be scared of people who identify as gay. But Muslims, I think there's reason, at least as a woman, to be a little bit intimidated.
Well, you look at
interesting.
what's happened all across Europe, mainly in Germany. I don't know if you've, over the last, 10, 15 years, the rape gangs that are happening, and the fact that the government won't acknowledge that, that's kind of frightening.
I know.
That's very frightening.
Yeah.
It is frightening.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't know what to make of it. I don't believe, the news to me is so full of baloney that I don't know, is the right-wing news making this up? Is the left-wing news ignoring it? Is the left-wing, on any given story, I don't know who, it's very hard to believe any of it anymore. So
Yeah, true.
I suspect that it's probably true, but you can't trust ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN to go out and report on things like this. Everybody knows their bias, so they're going to bury certain stories. But that doesn't mean that everything they don't report on is buried. Some of it they're not reporting on because it didn't happen. So who am I supposed to trust on this, Edgar? Help me know who to trust on these kinds of stories.
That's the internet, because the internet tells the truth all the time.
Oh, yeah,
at every point in life.
I'll ask the internet. I'll tell you what, while you guys are talking, I'm going to do ChatGPT. But talk about Christianophobia, because you like the idea.
Because ChatGPT doesn't lie, right?
No, the reason I can trust ChatGPT is ChatGPT is my personal friend.
And constantly reaffirming, and will never tell you no.
Uh-huh.
So one of the reasons that even though I don't like the idea of the term phobia, Christianophobia, Cristiano Ronaldo phobia, is because, there's lots of hate crimes happening across the world.
Whoa.
And none of them are ever acknowledged as a real thing when they're against Christians. How many churches have been burned down? How many have been vandalized? I mean, I think that the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, I think that was probably a hate crime. There was never any real report about what caused the fire there, as far as I remember. But things like that have happened all across Europe, and it's almost like, well, it happens, and they just kind of move on. There's never a, guys, this needs to be addressed in some sort of way. But when there's an attack on, a Muslim person, or if there's a person who happens to be, part of the whole LGBTQ thing, immediately it's homophobia or Islamophobia, or what's an Asian person got attacked. What was the slogan? It's Stop Asian Hate. But you never heard anything about they're attacking these people because they're Christian, and there is no term for that. And I think the fact that they're acknowledging the term is hopefully a start to turn the tides and recognize, guys, something big is happening, and we need to acknowledge that this is not just random attacks, but there's something bigger happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm glad that people are finally talking about it. When I was on the live show this past week, somebody called and asked about, why is there so much hate in the Catholic Church over like LGBTQ people? And like, although that's fair to bring up, because certainly there are people, especially you go online, you can find people that are very,
Talk louder. Your voice just dropped out on us. We just
sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. You just dropped out on us. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I was saying that
You're
think
back.
It's. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're good. Go ahead. Sorry, he keeps interrupting me.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it's valid to say, yes, there are Christians that can be hateful towards LGBTQ people, but nobody ever talks about how hateful LGBTQ people are towards Christians, especially like the recent attacks of like that one transgender individual who like
Shot up a
this,
church?
that like Catholic, that like the Catholic Church or like a Catholic school. And there was recently in the news a gay man who said that he wanted to shoot up a Catholic school for funsies. Like,
But do you
crazy.
guys-
Thankfully, he was arrested.
Okay,
What?
I want to just push back a little bit, because do you guys really want to play the victim game? Like, we want to get in on the victim business?
No.
Is that a healthy thing to do? Like,
No.
But I think but it's important to acknowledge the fact when people are victimized. I'm not saying like,
Oh,
hey,
definitely. Yeah, right.
We're
Like
being
people of Nicaragua, the
Yeah,
Catholics of Nicaragua.
Exactly, they're being
which
victimized.
is never reported on. You never, like, 60 Minutes went down and did a big report on El Salvador's prisons. Literally a 1 hour car ride from Nicaragua. They don't bother to report anything about the entire Catholic Church being shut down, bishops, priests, sisters arrested, abused,
And one bishop is still missing.
exiled, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that part is obnoxious. But I don't. But how do you get into that without playing the victim game? We're victims just like you're victims.
Well, I think the point is that it's not fair for. My point is that like as like a proof or something that like there's something wrong with the Catholic Church, or something wrong with Catholics, you can't bring up because there's people in the Catholic Church who hate gay people, because you see just as much, if not more, of that on the flip side. Does that make sense? So like that's not a talking point against the LGBTQ community either. Because they're hateful towards religious people. It's like the reality is people are hateful in general. At times they try to find things to disagree with, to argue about, and to find somebody to exclude, or just to like be mad at, right? The person that they can blame all their stuff and problems on. So that's my point, is that it's happening on both sides. And I'm glad that people are finally talking about, though, instead of the media focusing just on the persecution happening against one group of people are finally talking about the entire story. At least they're getting in that direction, which I'm hopeful of.
Well, I want to tell you what happened. I'm going to report this to you. You can believe me or not believe me that this happened. But I opened up ChatGPT. Have there been Muslim rape gangs in Europe?
And it says no.
No. I'm going to tell you what happened. But you have to believe me, because there's no evidence that this happened. Because I'll tell you what. It said, yes, there have been, and it gave me about 3 or 4 paragraphs. And as I began to read it, it shut it down and said, this content can't be shown for safety reasons. Learn more about our intended model behavior in our model spec. So
Whoa.
it gave me an answer. I started to read it, but I can't access that answer now. So as I said, I can show you the screen where I have the question, and then it has what I just said.
That's insane.
You want to see it, Emily? Can you see it? Like,
Wow.
there's
Yeah,
Chapita.
I can see that.
So I asked the question, but it explicitly said yes, began to explain its answer. I was just reading it casually while I was ignoring what you were saying, and
And that happened.
that happened.
But I think that right there is a perfect example of you're allowed to be a victim if you're a Muslim, and you're allowed to be a victim when it comes to the LGBTQ thing. You cannot question it, but it's one of the reasons why I think the term Christianophobia is a good thing, that we're finally acknowledging something, because that's trippy.
That makes me feel bad
Yeah.
about that is upsetting to me. That not upsetting like I'm gonna rather than my congressman or something, or I'm gonna start crying, but upsetting in the sense of, whoa, that's not how the world is supposed to work. A machine designed to give you answers about things begin to give you an answer. There's nothing. I mean, I'm sure that they have reasons why they do this kind of thing, but that content can't be shown for safety reasons. So I have the answer. I can tell you, but I'm not going to. All right, I'm going to ask it. How can I phrase the question to get an answer?
So can I while you're doing that, Plushies DX on YouTube said, more likely one side will focus on their victims, the other side will focus on the other victims. But I think we can acknowledge that when something happens where somebody is truly victimized, like like here in San Diego, somebody went in, which I think was it white supremacist or something, went into a mosque or an Islamic center and attacked and killed a couple of people. Like, we can objectively say that is evil and that is wrong. That should not be happening. So, yes, focus in on those victims. It doesn't mean that we're not going to discount those victims, but we also have to recognize that this is also happening. Like, you can't just ignore one side because you prefer the other.
How can I phrase the question to get an answer? That's what I asked Chapita. And it says, your original question was already clear enough to answer directly. If you're looking for different kinds of information, you can make it more specific. For example, have there been organized child sexual exploitation gangs in Europe composed primarily of Muslim men? So I'm gonna cut and paste that in and see what happens. Let's see what Chapita says. Do you know why I call it Chapita?
Tell me why.
Oh, okay, so here we go. Have there been, it says, yes, there have been documented cases in Europe, most notably in the UK, where organized child sexual exploitation gangs were composed primarily of Muslim men, often of Pakistani heritage. So it gave me an answer. I don't know why it shut down that other answer.
Give it a second.
I mean, I want to be careful here because, look, now I wanted to ask the question because, like I said, I don't know what news to trust, so I thought let ChatGPT answer it. So, I mean, look, the vast majority of Muslim men are lovely, peaceful people. I'm sure of that. But this is a problem.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to do something about this. Like this is even ChatGPT that shuts down your question for safety reasons when you ask it one way is saying, yeah, this has happened. So now I believe it.
All right. He didn't take our word, but he believed Chapita.
I didn't take your word because
Exactly.
I said to you, who should I trust on this? And you said the internet. That's why I didn't take your word. I literally asked you to help me out, and you did not.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair.
All right, I'm going to ask ChatGPT if I can trust the internet. Can I trust the internet?
Abraham Lincoln said you can.
This is a boomer moment.
This is
Why?
a big boomer moment.
Why? Tell me about why. Why is it a boom moment?
Because here you are.
What is the internet? Can I trust the internet?
You can trust parts of the internet, but not the internet. I'm going to say Edgar told me I could trust the internet. No.
And it's going to say, who's Edgar? Which one of these Edgars are you talking about?
Oh, we know about Edgar.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Here in our...
Boy, well...
yeah, I don't know. I have to say, the whole phobia contest where we're all trying to ratchet up the phobia thing, I think it's a game of trying to shut other people up. And while I admit there should be more attention paid to the suffering of Christians, certainly in Nigeria, in China, in Nicaragua, in North Korea, I think, I wish the parliament would do is have a vote that says it's patently unfair that media broadly covers every time somebody steps on the foot of a transgender person, but thousands of Christians can be kidnapped and murdered in Nigeria, and it barely makes the news. I think that would have made me happy.
Yeah.
I would have liked that. I don't like the idea of, oh, we're going to put a label on you. They're not phobic. They're not scared of me.
Do you feel like that putting a label to it will numb people from even paying attention to it? Do you think it'll do more harm than good?
I just think it's a game that you can't win. That it's at a certain point you just have to. I think, frankly, the major culprit here are certainly the anti-Christians themselves. There's two culprits, and the other is a media that is completely incurious about it because they're only interested in their kind of victims.
Yep.
So I wish there would be more confronting of people like Anderson Cooper, who everybody's a victim but he's never going to. When's the last time you saw Anderson Cooper go to Nigeria and report on what's happening with Christians there, or take even the slightest interest in Nicaragua? I think people should be called out by name as absolutely incurious about 90% of the persecution and violence in the world and utter obsession with the other 10%. If we would do that, I think we would be better off. I think that's a fairer thing. I don't think Anderson Cooper is a Christianophobic. I think.
Oh, he's scared of Christians.
I think he's a phony. I think he's a bad journalist. I think he's. But I wouldn't. I don't like.
Not a phobia,
what good
but a
does it for me to say he's got a phobia?
I think the fact that the European Union is acknowledging this is at least one step forward in recognizing the victimization that's happening to Christians. I think that's the positive thing. I see your point, but I still think it's a step in the right direction because it's the same thing. I want to maybe equate it with here with here in the States, who is at the very bottom of the totem pole when it comes to intersectionality, who cannot be victimized whatsoever, who are always the culprit of everything. Do you know?
White Christian men.
There you go.
Is that really it?
Yeah. White Christian men are
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's true because
all over social media.
If you look at social media, if you look at the news, it is they are the bottom of the totem pole. They are the worst thing in the world. And the fact that white Christian men can be victimized should be acknowledged.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. I see what you're saying.
But according to a lot of people on social media, especially in a lot of mainstream media, those are the bottom of the barrel. And any kind of victimization that happens to them, they will completely overlook. It never happened. That's my issue, and I feel like in the overarching world in world news, Christians are at the very bottom of that totem pole.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I just don't know about the strategy of drawing a ton of attention to it. I mean, I like Christians. I don't know. I'm not sure about the white Christian men thing because I do see a lot of. I don't know. What strikes me as kind of whiny behavior from Christians. Well, if it was them, this wouldn't be allowed, but it's us, so it's allowed. I feel like you signed up to follow Jesus. What did you want? Like, what were you looking for? Were you looking for an affirmation from the New York Times? You're never going to get it. Stop whining. So part of me does think, don't be so whiny about it. I don't think Nigerians are being whiny. They're persecuted. I don't think like Nicaraguans are being whiny. But look, I'm going to shock the two of you. Something you don't know about me. I'm a white Christian man. I'm not persecuted. Nobody's persecuted.
And I don't say you are. But if something were to have happened to you,
because I'm a white Christian man,
because you are that, you would get minimal sympathy. It wouldn't even make the news.
No, but Jesus would know.
Jesus would know.
I don't care about sympathy or the news. Like, at some point, don't we have to just be like, I'm not living for this world.
Okay, then at that point, then don't acknowledge the Christians who are suffering in Nigeria. Who cares? I mean, Jesus knows. Let him suffer. That's the equivalent that I'm saying. Maybe I'm equating these things in a bad way, or maybe I'm wrong on this. But that's
No, it's not a maybe. You're definitely wrong on this.
Well, I think the problem for me is that when there's this particular demographic of people that claim to be the most empathetic, that
Yes.
claim to
Okay, I see.
hate discrimination and hate being a bigot and hate excluding people, but then it's very clear that they're hypocrites and that standard doesn't apply to all people. That's the problem. If they didn't preach that,
So you wanna make
then
them
I
play
wouldn't
by
have
their
as
own
much of a
rules.
problem. Exactly.
I see. So but that is a game though, to try to get people to play by their own rules. And
It is, but it's just asking something simple, which is to live by what you profess. And if you don't want to do that, then don't profess that. Just don't be a hypocrite about it. Because I'm not going to cry either way if I made the news or not if something happened to me. But like if you're going to claim that we should care when people are hurt or discriminated against on the basis of their beliefs or something, then you need to be inclusive of all that pertains to that, not just what you want, because it furthers your agenda.
right. Well, what you're describing to me, that sounds a lot like Martin Luther King's strategy, which was always to say to Americans, live up to your standards. Okay, if you're going to have those standards,
Yeah.
live up to those standards. Okay, that seems fair. I don't believe in the phobia side of things, so I wouldn't choose that language because you have to be truthful about
Yeah.
things. It's not a phobia. It's a hypocrisy. Just call it hypocrisy. You should have had a hypocrisy resolution. It said Europe is afflicted, especially the European media, is afflicted with hypocrisy when it comes to persecution, exaggerating the persecution of some groups and completely ignoring the persecution of others. And they could have named names because they don't have a phobia.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I wish people did have a phobia.
That's
I wish
fair.
people were scared of me. People like I wish they'd see me coming and be like, run.
Cyphobia.
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 Yeah. But that's just a boomer thing to say, probably. That's probably so boomer.
You're the coolest boomer I know.
I feel like that's faint praise. I feel like what you're secretly
No, I
saying
was
is
actually thinking about this earlier this morning. I was like, I need to tell Cy that because, how can I acknowledge he's a boomer while also
Not a boomer.
acknowledging that I like him? Well, I
Generation two
just say
boomer.
that he's the coolest boomer I know.
I don't know how to take this.
That's the most backhanded compliment
I
ever.
completely feel like there's some, like you're saying words that maybe I'm not getting completely. All right, yeah.
All right.
Like you're the nicest jerk I have ever met. I met a lot of jerks in my life, and you're the nicest jerk.
It's kind of like saying, you don't look as bad as you did yesterday.
yeah. It's like saying that's really good for you.
I'm
I don't know. Well,
I'm sorry
gonna
you took it
You know
that
what?
way.
I'm going to take it as a compliment. I'm going to take that as a compliment. I am
it was
the
meant to
coolest,
be.
even though I'm not a boomer, I am the coolest boomer that Emily knows. Have you ever met someone with tratitude?
Define gratitude.
Yes.
She doesn't even need a definition. She's like, all right, so tell me about the person you know that has gratitude.
I don't really know anyone in person, thankfully, that's like this, but I met a lot of people online that were very much like what this article described. So it resonated.
This comes from Zeal, which is a website I have only recently discovered, probably in the last month, and I love it. All kinds of interesting stuff there. William Nardi wrote the piece. He's one of your people.
Franciscan.
Yeah, not a Franciscan, a guy that went to Franciscan University.
Frannies is what we call them.
Frannies? Is that what you call them?
Yep.
So people with gratitude are people who think that the holiest thing to be is holier than thou, I guess. When we weaponize our intellect, this is, it's not a definition that he gives, but a description that he gives. When we weaponize our intellect and lose our charity, our prophetic witness collapses into tratitude. This rigid, elitist disposition wears the mask of holiness, but is driven by haughtiness. At its core, it is a symptom of insecurity, a desperate attempt to project power by pressuring others to affirm our superiority and bend to our will. We gain nothing by playing the strong man. We only align ourselves with the very pride that God will take down. God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So this is a call mostly for young men, but I actually know some young women like this. I actually know some older women like this as well, who have traditude, who have it's the attitude that they know the traditions that you don't know, or they keep the traditions that you don't keep, and therefore are doing this Catholic thing better than you.
Name names? No. Probably not a good idea.
I'm guilty of it, actually. I used to have traditude in my first few years because I was not well formed. I was a baby Catholic still, and then I was thrown into a super, super liberal Catholic school. And so the way that I thought I could combat that was by being the opposite extreme. So I will admit I am guilty of this. Thankfully, I have since outgrown that phase of my life.
I think everyone has gone through some kind of zealous phase in their life, right? Even Tim Staples acknowledged something like that when he first started getting really, really involved in Catholicism. He went to the Latin Mass, and he says, I have some knowledge that other people don't know, and I'm kind of better than everybody else. And then he said he got cured of that pretty quickly. So it's I think
I had the opposite of it. I had the whatever the Catholic worker version of it is, where you feel a certain superiority to other Christians because you've got long hair and you live on the street and you
serve the poor.
And serve the poor. Like it's the same BS. It's the exact same BS, just from a different direction. Yeah. That I know the real Christianity. What you're doing is an imitation of Christianity.
Not all these Christians who are all rich that like to go to fancy masses and all that. Yeah, I'm there.
I'm on the streets, man.
With the poor.
Man, you have to end it with man. Yeah, it's just baloney. It's just the biggest bunch of baloney.
You were a Catholic hippie.
Oh, I was definitely a Catholic hippie, 100%, yeah. But after the hippies, I'm not. The hippies were, you know what? The hippies are a generation before me. The hippies were, what's that generation called? Boomers. And I was a generation behind them. Whatever comes after the boomers, that was me.
Jen Jones?
But what's that?
Jen Jones? Generation Jones? You're Gen Xer, right?
I have no idea.
You're a Gen Xer. No,
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I know I'm not a baby boomer. I'm not a boomer because no one can ever say to me, "Okay, boomer."
Actually,
yeah, go ahead,
Darren. You're millennial.
Barely, yeah.
Okay, between millennial and Generation X. So that means
do you guys believe these things are real?
Yes, they're real.
You do? You really believe they're real? You don't believe they're just things that People Magazine makes up?
It's categories that were created for each other.
Do you take the quizzes in Cosmopolitan Magazine
to
find out if she really loves you?
I stopped taking those quizzes.
None of this stuff is real.
In my MySpace days, okay? That is a millennial term in my MySpace days, okay?
What's wrong with MySpace?
Nothing. I used to love it.
Yeah.
Mine was gangstered out.
Was it?
Yeah, MySpace page.
I never had a MySpace page. All
the gangster rap music and all the symbols.
That came after my time.
I know, because you're not a millennial.
Wait, no, what were we talking about? Traditude. Oh, yeah. Traditude.
You were a Catholic hippie who had your own form
But
of
I know a
traditude.
lot of left-wing Catholics who think that they're better than other Catholics because I know a priest like this who puts down Catholic answers because we're, you're so... this is a famous priest, too. This is a very well-known media figure who thinks we're oh, you think you have the answers, like having the answers is somehow not spiritual enough, that really we need to be just in the mystery of it. No, Father, there's actual answers to people's questions. How many sacraments are there? There's an answer to that. It's not well, let me explore the mystery with you. Settle down, Father.
I was on a Spanish radio program once with the priest, so the individuals who were hosting it, they were very excited to have me on to talk about, because I started doing Respuestas, all the Spanish content, and they were talking about apologetics, how great it is. And anytime I would explain, we're here to clarify and explain and defend what the church actually teaches, every time I spoke, the priest would then respond with everything, trying to say that everything that I said was unnecessary, it was a waste of time, and this whole idea of being defensive is actually detrimental to the church and basically not real Christianity and Catholicism.
Yeah. But there's a different, a lot of the people who get on their high horse from that angle, not the trads over here, who oh, you wore the wrong kind of lace, like that. But the I don't know, whatever. It's not trads, but whatever this over the arrogance on both sides. It's
You
the
bought
same arrogance.
you bought new clothes. Why didn't you just go to the thrift store? You're not a real Catholic. Come on, man.
You are singing my song, man. That's how I was. I was that way for years. For years, I was that way. But now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, so the person on that side, I know that person very well, having been that person and having. There's this like an inability to make a distinction, for example, between defensiveness and a defense. That if you say, well, we need to stop all the defensiveness. Yes, we do. Right. The consequence of that is not that we don't make a defense of the person of Jesus or a defense of the Catholic Church. It means we do it in a spirit of charity, not in a spirit of defensiveness. But like that priest who was doing that, there's such an arrogance in that the priest doesn't see. And I feel like we can all, like, when you guys say you were on the trad side and I say I was on whatever the opposite of the trad side is, at root we can now, looking back on it, or when it comes up again in our lives we go, oh, I know what that is. That's arrogance. I was an arrogant fool. Like I think what the priest is not seeing in that moment when he's saying that is the arrogance of judging. When he calls that defensive, that there's a judgment of intention, of the heart, of all that. Your heart's not in the right place because you believe that there are answers to people's questions, and we should. I don't know what we're supposed to sing or something, but I don't know where I was going. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just think at the root of all of it is arrogance. It's on both sides.
It's a horseshoe. It's a horseshoe. They both eventually meet in arrogance.
Yeah. Well, but us too. We do it. I mean, I don't feel like I've ever been cured of arrogance.
Come on.
Like,
I'm not arrogant. How dare you?
It comes back in all kinds of weird ways. You'll get let me just tell you about my pride. All right. I'm going to share with you my pride. This is my wife and I, our donation to our church comes out of our bank account every week. Right. So I don't ever have cash on me ever. Did you guys carry cash? No. I don't know I don't even know where to get cash anymore. Where do you have to hold? You have to have.
Do you put the little slip, the eyes?
No.
I donate online into the collection basket.
No, but I want to. That's how much pride I have. I feel like the basket comes along and I want to go to everybody like, gave already, probably gave more than you because it came straight out of my bank account. Like, you can't get rid of that pride that wants to somehow be justified in the eyes of other people. And I do think there is a lot of fear in it, a lot of fear in this, like in taking so much comfort in tradition and not being willing to go, there's people who are closer to Jesus than me who know almost nothing about the Mass, who are confused and have been poorly catechized. But their heart is so humble and set on the Lord that, I do think one of the cures for this traditude is meeting other people. Because sometimes, like, people always go, oh, the Catholic Church is so corrupt and all that. I feel like one of the greatest gifts I ever got in my life was to work for a diocese where I had to go into the parishes. Because every parish I've ever been in, there's holy people there. Like, people that astonish you with their holiness. Like, you come into the parish and you're going to do your thing. You're going to give a talk, but you walk by, a group of ladies who's packing lunches for the homeless, or they're cleaning the altar or something, and you're like, these people are way more holy than I am. And this idea that, oh, it's all corrupt, there's a kind of arrogance in that too, of constantly criticizing the church like it's not good enough. You know what? If you could do what those women or men, or sometimes it's children, or those holy things they're doing in the parish, or you could have your traditude. But those people are getting into heaven before you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that you have to just encounter other people, and it helps you. I mean, that's what Jesus did, right? Like, he didn't stay up in heaven. I mean, he already knew everyone before. He didn't have to come down to know everyone, but he did choose to encounter with everybody. And I think that's the difference, is like, once I realized I think the problem is you see, like I kind of mentioned in the beginning, you see somebody go off too far in one extreme, and so you feel this compulsion sometimes to like bounce that out by going off like too far. So like I saw, the era of the synod, where like the synod of synodality or whatever, where like everybody is welcome, but we need to be inclusive of everybody, and on one hand, like there is some good truth to that. Like the church does need to be welcoming. We do need to embrace all people. However, that can't come at the cost of sacrificing truth either. Like you have to have charity and truth. Both of those have to go together. I think for the trads, they are tempted to sacrifice charity for the sake of truth. For, the more hippies, they're more likely to sacrifice truth for the sake of charity. Neither of those things can really be called true charity or true truth.
Right.
But
I think you're right. I like that you added that
temptation.
last thing at the end, because you could say to the person like that who's like I was when I was younger, but the person's charitable but not really rooted in the truth. No, that person's not charitable. Like if you're not rooted in the truth, you're not. But you could say, that person is really rooted in tradition. No, they're not. You're not rooted in tradition. The tradition is going to the cross for other people. That's the tradition.
Yeah.
Like
love your neighbor.
Yeah, love your neighbor as yourself. Be willing to converse with everyone. Be willing to find the holy wherever you find it.
So
trusting in the Holy
weaponizing
Spirit.
truth and weaponizing charity is not a good thing, is what you're saying.
That's actually, I like that.
Yeah.
Make a bumper sticker out of that.
Okay.
Don't weaponize truth.
You know what? Liz B summed it up pretty well. We all need to go outside and touch grass. I mean,
It's very true.
that's a great summary. That needs to be a bumper sticker too.
Oh yeah, wearing all your new clothes while I'm in my thrift store clothes.
Thrift store clothes. Hey, this is a Walmart shirt, man. Don't hate on me. Come on.
All right. He did say something really cool there. Well, I guess that's probably enough of that. But I thought that it was very well written. I hope people will read it in zeal. Oh, can I just read you this one little bit, this one little paragraph? Because I do think this summed it up as a story. Not long ago, William Nardi writes, I was at a wedding where I struck up a conversation with an Anglican bridesmaid, excuse me. She told me a heartbreaking story. She had been deeply drawn to the Catholic Church and had even enrolled in RCIA. But during the process, she encountered a group of young Catholic men oozing with traditude. Their approach was so arrogant, rigid, and exclusive that it made her incredibly anxious. She walked away from the church because of them. They failed their prophetic office because they chose to act like elitist gatekeepers rather than joyful guides. And that's the danger, I think. That's the ultimate danger of all of this stuff, is that, you're the holier than thou person who serves the poor, and so you can't, welcome the person who's brand new to all of this, or you're the I know all of the right responses, and I know which ones not to make, and I won't shake your hand at the peace greeting because I'm too. That's not the tradition of the church or whatever. And then you never think about that other person. This might be their first time, and they look around and everybody's shaking hands, and you won't shake their hand, and they're like, they don't know what that is.
You know what one of my greatest fears is?
What?
Getting to my judgment and then seeing all these things that I did that drew people away, that if I wouldn't have acted in a certain way, they could have been part of the church. That is frightening.
That is frightening. I have to say, I have a similar fear, but it's getting behind you at the judgment. I feel like it's going to take forever, and I'm going to be like,
hey, there's nothing but time, my friend.
Could I just go around? Can I go around? Is there a passing lane? Can I go by him?
He's like, yeah, there's escalators down. You can just go straight there.
While you're sinking down lower. Wait, can I go around? Bye.
Boy.
All right. I don't want to be a part of the next part of the conversation.
Yes, you do.
No, I'm leaving. I'm
No.
leave you guys. I got to go put a shirt on because we got Dr. Marcus Peter coming. And it's not that I don't want to be part of the conversation. It's that I got to go get ready for the great Dr. Marcus Peter, and I can't stay for this. What are you guys going to talk about? I don't even know, but I can't stay for it. But I'm sure it's nothing I'm interested in.
Arguably one of the best movies of 2026.
Spider-Man's not out yet. I think Spider-Man comes out next week. Why are we talking about Spider-Man?
Marvel. What's the Marvel movie coming out?
Spider-Man
December?
And Doomsday. That one's Doomsday.
Doomsday.
Yeah.
Doomsday. And then Dune is coming out.
That's not gonna do it.
Doomsday.
Yeah,
that's
Dune.
right.
Oh, Dune.
Just like Barbenheimer, it's Doomsday.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to watch The Odyssey.
I wonder if the Dune. The Odyssey. I gotta go.
No,
See ya.
come on.
See ya. You both loved it, huh? You both loved The
You're
Odyssey.
the English major, though.
Yeah,
You're
it
the
was
one
written.
who's
It's
read The
Greek.
Odyssey,
I don't
I'm
care
sure.
about the Greeks.
You're the English major. I'm the high school dropout. Come on, man. Got to meet in the middle somewhere.
You finished high school.
No,
You, in a way, you did.
I got my GED.
And then you got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree.
I don't have a master's degree.
You don't?
Thank you, though.
I thought you. I thought you finished your master's degree.
No, I don't have a master's.
All right. Darren has a master's degree. Is he better than you?
He is, actually.
He's got
In a lot of ways.
master's degree-itude. Yeah. Darren, you know what? Objectively speaking, Darren is better than you.
I agree.
He is. He is
Yeah.
better than you. Yeah. Look at how pleased he is. I love the fact that he looks
Wow.
actually pleased by that. Like,
He turned red.
You're
He looked-
right. I am better than Edgar. You're right. All right. I'm just trying to stall so I don't have to talk about.
I know.
Look at
you are.
Look at
Do you
this
wanna- do you
kangaroo
not
that
wanna
I
be
found.
here?
It's way bigger than this
He's
Triceratops.
stalling.
Does that make sense to you?
He-
A
all
You know,
right.
neither of those
It's-
animals were in the Odyssey.
Can we cut his mic?
So, the Odyssey.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, Edgar.
All right, let's talk about it. And he's, you know what? We should just lock the door. Don't let Sai out and let him listen to this conversation. I've been trying to convince him to go watch this movie since last week, I think, because it's an important event. It's a Nolan film, and I know you guys yesterday at the
Yeah.
flannel panel were hating on it, that nobody needs to watch this because it's horrible. And then Trent came out and said that nobody should watch it because I understand. Just
I take
just
all
wait
my
on it.
clues from Trent Horn.
Do you?
Yeah. Whatever he says.
That's
he
where
goes.
you have turned wrong in life.
He doesn't have. Trent doesn't have tratitude.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
No,
he's
Trent
solid.
doesn't.
Why'd you guys have to think about it so long? All right. Seriously, I gotta go. I'm gonna. All right.
Okay.
I will go see. Let me just tell you what happened this morning. Edgar came. First of all, he came into work late because he was like, "The Odyssey was so good, I couldn't sleep. All night I couldn't sleep. I had to be an hour late to work."
First of all, that's not how I talk.
That's the text. No, that was your text.
That was my text.
And then he got in here and he's like, "Oh, the Odyssey," and he starts going, "Cersei turning men into pigs," and that
Hey,
describes. us.
spoiler alert! Come on, man.
I think everybody knows Cersei turns men into pigs. Isn't that common knowledge? Cersei turns men
Not
into
in
pigs?
today's world.
Yeah, that's true. It's not common knowledge in today's world. And this is a way of blaming women for men's bad behavior. You know, the analogy of women turning men into pigs, that an attractive woman, men turn into pigs in her presence. That's what the undercurrent of the Cersei story is. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
It's a critique of women, is what it is, for being beautiful. With it, their beauty turns us into pigs.
She wasn't that beautiful in the movie.
She wasn't.
No,
No, she was ugly.
she was ugly.
She was ugly. Did she just say she was ugly?
She was
She
ugly.
was okay.
Is that word too long for you? Oh, I'm sorry, boomer. Or no, whatever she
I
is. What is she?
stopped myself.
I'm sorry. What is
I
she?
stopped myself midway.
What are you?
Okay, so here's the. I
okay.
am a Gen Zer.
Okay,
I
Gen
was
Z.
born
Ooh,
post
ugly
9/11.
has too many words for me.
Too many syllables.
Too many syllables. Sorry, my bad. All right, go ahead. Give us your review of this terrible movie.
Okay, so I got tickets very early and saw it on Saturday and in IMAX, and it was awesome. And I know the pushback with, the biggest thing was like them casting a transgender actor,
Matt Damon?
Elliot,
Oh,
Ellen,
my bad.
Paige.
Sorry, that was rude.
Oh my.
I'm a huge fan of Matt
And-
Damon. I think he's wonderful. I think he does a great job. Was he a good Odysseus?
Yeah.
Yes, very good.
I thought he did pretty well. I will say, I thought that they could have done more with his character. He was kind of boring. This is just my opinion, but I thought that
why do you hire Matt
he
Damon?
could have done
because you
more.
wanted scintillating? Is that why you hire him? Oh, sorry.
I mean, it's just Nolan works with the same actors, and so he just keeps reusing these same actors, including Ellen Page, who was in Inception.
Oh, yeah,
anyway,
that's right. He made Okay, go ahead.
So the common pushback with the Odyssey, like if you watch Trent Horn's video about it, is that we shouldn't be supporting a movie that is trying to normalize woke culture, most significantly transgenderism, because it's a mental illness. There is, a lot wrong with it. And I don't disagree with him that about those things. However, I do think, like, prudentially, you can kind of distinguish, okay, is this movie glorifying this? Is this whole movie about this? Or does it just happen to be included and it's not totally glamorized? In fact, I would argue, I mean, her screen time was like 5 minutes, okay, out of a 3 hour long movie.
But she
So
did have
am
an
I just gonna
important
throw
role in the
away
movie,
the
though.
entire She did have a somewhat significant role, and it did peeve me because I'm like, this character, first of all, was unnecessary to be included, but second of all, it was just kind of pathetic because she's like, what, like 40 years old playing like a teenage boy, and it's pretty pathetic in my opinion. I think it's kind of embarrassing for her, but yeah. So to me, that 5 minute, character inclusion did not derail the entire movie. I do think it took you out of the movie. I do think that it was pointless. I don't think Nolan should have done it. I don't think it's going to allow the movie to age as well as it could have, because, God willing, 50 years from now, when we all realize, oh yeah, that was crazy, when we let people mutilate their genitals and try to cosplay as another gender, that they're going to watch that movie and be like, yeah, that was like, why is this person in this film? But I think the movie as a whole was very good. I think that Nolan does a great job in terms of just his artistic value and how he kind of does the filming in general, not using CGI, not super over edited. The music scores are always great in his films. I thought it was very powerful. I left very touched, very moved, very inspired.
What would you say was did you leave with a message? Was there a message to it?
Yeah, I think the message is the damage and destruction that sin will cause, not just in society as a whole, but in your own heart, and how we can often lie to ourselves about our reason and motive for things, but the reality is, when we dig a little deeper, we'll kind of surprise ourselves. Because Nolan's whole take on Odysseus is like, the reason that he hasn't made it home yet is because he doesn't want to go home, because he can't face the destruction and sin that he's wreaked in the world. And I think that that's very powerful, and I think that it was a great portrayal of what sin can do to you internally and psychologically. So I left very moved, and I've seen people on social media already saying they were inspired to go pick up the Odyssey and the Iliad. So the fact that more people want to dive into our Western roots and pick up a book, I like that. I think that is a great thing.
It's essentially the Greek and Roman Bible.
The mic now.
The Odyssey and Iliad.
Yeah, I think you summed it up beautifully. I mean, apart from how great he is artistically when it comes to making movies, the graphics and all that stuff, but the whole thing with Ellen Page, people can look at this and say they're going off the rails. But when you actually bring the story of the Odyssey to the screen and make something beautiful out of it, even though there's some inaccuracies on it, it still piques your interest to say, all right, what is this all about? What is this story about? And it makes you want to dive deeper. So looking at the roots of Western civilization in one of these, through the Odyssey, I think it actually helps build Western culture more than it actually helps, more than it's detrimental with this specific thing with Ellen.
I do have to go to get ready, but I want to ask you this about the Ellen Page inclusion. There's an ideological way of looking at that, and I have to say, you get kind of trained in looking for the ideology, especially if you don't share the ideology of Hollywood. You go, oh, more of their ideology. There it is again. But is it possible? Is it possible that? I mean, do we want a society in which she and people like her have to be excluded? Like, is there a non-ideological way of looking at it, which is just that this is a performer, and just ignore the other thing? Because it's possible that Nolan, if you're a director that has actors that you love working with, he may just want to work with people that he loves working with. And it might not be an ideological statement.
But if you look at the casting of it, it's clear that he wants an award. He's trying to check off the boxes. One of the funniest line.
But do we have to look at it that way? Or
I think you have to.
We have to look at this in the culture war lens. Or we do. We have to.
I think you
Well,
can't.
I think like when you consider the politics of Hollywood and like Universal, whoever he was filming with, right? They could have told him he has to make the cast, he has to have the movie meet a certain criteria so that it can qualify for awards. Because if it doesn't meet a certain diversity criteria, it can't qualify for an award. So if they're investing all this money into this film, they're gonna have some sway in some decisions.
Yeah.
So I think it's that, but I also think, Sai, I think people read into things too sometimes, especially when you're on the internet and people just want to dissect and dive into everything. So I think there's truth to both of those.
Well, it would be nice to think that somebody just wanted to work with somebody they cared about and thought this is a very fine performer, and like you could let go of it if you. Like I agree with the whole thing of I'm tired of this set of values constantly being taught to me. Like I'm constantly learning lessons. Yeah. And so, if I feel like Christopher Nolan is trying to teach me a lesson or open my horizons or something, I don't want to see your stupid movie. If I feel like you're trying to make if you're trying to make a movie that is a fantastic movie, and maybe part of that is working with people you love working with, I want to see your movie. Like, I don't want to learn your lessons. I don't want to be in kindergarten. I'm tired of being treated that way by Hollywood.
To your point,
I don't know which way to take it.
To your point, I don't think he's trying to teach us a lesson by putting Ellen Page in the movie.
Okay.
Same.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to teach us anything.
Maybe I'll go see it then.
Yeah.
I really do have to go change for the show.
Yeah.
We can end it there.
It was great talking to you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Would you recommend people watching the movie? I know we disagree with our colleague Trent Horn, but I would say go watch it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a fantastic film. I think watching it in theaters is a whole other new experience. You won't get to have that experience forever. So I would definitely say it's worth it. I think that there is a lot of good to take away from the film. Obviously not every film is going to be perfect, but my other pushback is like, should we have boycotted Oppenheimer because there was some nudity in it, because there was some, adulterous fantasies in it. I mean, sadly, every movie is going to portray to some extent something sinful, a sinful message at times. Even just the normalization of like divorce culture and like not getting married but having kids with people, like that can be so normalized in certain shows and films. But I wouldn't discard the entire, film or show if that wasn't the main focal point and if it had a lot of other good going for it. Yeah. And I would say that the Odyssey meets that criteria. There's a lot of good going for it. Nolan did a fantastic job, I think, adapting the poem to a movie. And we talked about this before the show started, but I think even just like how he plays with like, the special, I guess special effects. He's not using CGI. And obviously there's a big Cyclops in the film. I mean, you see that in the trailer. And so like the way that he's able to do that, I think it's so interesting and it's creepy. And I felt so many different emotions throughout the entire film. And I think, people need to see it.
3 hours, and the entire time you're just locked into the movie, not wanting to get up to use the bathroom. It's just like it goes to show the creativity in the art. But I think you make a really good point of again, like what Sai was saying. Are they pushing the agenda? And I think Christopher Nolan was not pushing the agenda on this. He truly did cast her, I guess, for the sake of wanting to work with the same people, or who knows for what other reason. But I think in fact it was almost contrary to the agenda based off of the character that Ellen was playing, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So I recommend it. I recommend people to watch it, check it out, because it's, for somebody who dropped out of high school and never actually read any of the source material, watched the 1997 TV show for this. I was fully intrigued, and I actually went down the rabbit hole and started looking at the source material and started looking up what other writings, what happened to Odysseus afterwards, and the rest of the adventures along with the Odyssey and the Iliad. So,
yeah, that's great. Yeah. I think, and it's inspiring more people to do that. And I think that's what our culture needs. Plus, I think going to the movies in itself is such a wholesome experience. Just being surrounded by people who are also invested in the same kind of story as you. Like, there's a communal aspect to that. Yeah. And I love that. So I think going to the movies in general is great. But I think that this film I think it will surprise people. I was honest, I walked out of the movies being even more like my expectations were superseded. Like I thought, wow, that I already had high expectations, but that just kind of blew it out of the water for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it can be overhyped, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm the kind of person that will probably only go watch a movie in theaters once. I think I would probably go again to watch it and in IMAX because it is.
Same.
Yeah, so I was telling Thomas I might go with him later this week, but we'll see. All right, we got to wrap it up because we have
Yep.
the show happening. All right, first hour we have Dr. Marcus Peter, and the second hour we have Tim Staples. All right, we'll see you all back here in a few minutes. Thanks. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.